What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. It is the 5th day of January, and here we are sitting at about $92.7 thousand with 9 hours and 45 minutes left in this day. It's a brand new week. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. We've got about 6 days, 10 hours left in this week. We had a very bullish close to last week. Practically a bullish engulfing candle. I mean, I would call that a bullish engulfing candle. We literally closed above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Over the last 6 weeks of closing prices, we've closed above all of those closing prices over the past 6 weeks with last week's close. So that's definitely a positive sign right there. We've been consolidating for a long time at the base of this range. Not incredibly long, but still a relatively long amount of time. I mean, whenever we got to this base of this range here, it was 6 weeks later that we started to move up. Whenever we got to the base of this range here, it was probably about 9 weeks later here at the low. Then we started to move up, right? Not this low. You could say that we technically started to move up from here, but I would say the move didn't really start until here, right? Can you see it? Can you see it with your eyes, right? It didn't start here. That was the low, but the move really started here. I mean, you can see it, I feel like, a little bit better without all the lines on it, right? So that's why I'm drawing it to here. 9 weeks, 6 weeks, you're at the low here. You really start to move up, I don't know, maybe here, 9 weeks later, maybe here, 6 weeks later, something in between, I don't know, one of those there. You find your low here. You're in this range. You didn't really start to move up until 8 weeks later. Just all kind of in that relative kind of timeline, right? We're here, and now it's 7 weeks later. I mean, dude, it makes sense. We're there. We're there. The weekly RSI is bouncing off the oversold zone. The monthly RSI is bouncing off the 50. We've had 3 red months closing in a row, and Bitcoin hasn't had 4 red months to close in a row since the last, not the last bear market, but the bear market before, since 2018. Bitcoin has not closed 4 red months in a row. Even in its last bear market, it didn't do that. Since 2018. That doesn't mean that we can't do it here. That also doesn't mean that we're overdue for it. I'm just saying, statistically speaking, since 2018, the likelihood that this month closes green is pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. Pair that with the fact we're bouncing off the 50 here. Pair that with the fact we have lower lows in the RSI and lower lows in the stochastics, and yet we have higher lows in the price. We have lower lows in the MACD, and yet we have higher lows in the price. It's hidden bullish divergence on a monthly time frame. That's very significant. Bouncing off the oversold area, not getting oversold on the weekly RSI. Stochastics have reset entirely. We are officially now, with both of our stochastic oscillators, out of the oversold zone. As long as this week closes green. I mean, if we come down and we close red, maybe the orange rejects a little bit. But this looks really good. In fact, every single time, relative to these movements, these low areas that we actually started to move up, that correlated directly with the stochastics coming out of the oversold zone like they are right now. And the MACD crossing green. We're not there yet. We haven't crossed green yet, but there's definitely some prospects that would allow for that to happen here pretty soon. I mean, if you're wondering what those prospects are, just, plain and simple right here, we saw 23 weeks of a red histogram here. We saw 12 weeks of a red histogram here. As of now, we have officially seen 19 weeks of a red histogram here. That's not 12 weeks, it's not 23 weeks, but kind of right in the middle there. Makes sense to me, right? Makes sense to me. We go back into the bear market. Even in the depths of the bear market, we had 16 weeks of red before flipping green. 16 weeks, again, of red. This was clearly less than 16 weeks. I'm not going to measure that there, but we're at 19 weeks now. I think it's time. I think it's time. It's the 5th of January. When I say I think it's time, it doesn't have to be today. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. It doesn't have to be this week. It can be 2 weeks from now. But and maybe it's 3 weeks from now. We are certainly, I would think, personally, I would think that we're 20 days or less away, maybe even 15 days. Let's say 2 weeks. I genuinely believe I was trying to be conservative and say 20 days, but I'm like, that just sounds too far away. If I want to stake my reputation on it, I genuinely believe we will continue being productive, but we will see some true productivity coming back into the markets and for Bitcoin specifically within the next 2 weeks. We're in the final countdown, my friends. Now, again, if we're paying attention to what I just said there very, very closely, I'm not saying, all right, so tomorrow we're going to wake up and we're above 100K. We're going to new all-time highs in 2 weeks. No, that's not what I just said. What I said was over the next 2 weeks, or maybe 2 weeks' time exactly from here, we will be breaking out. Okay? That means we could still be consolidating here. 2 weeks later, we're finally at $97,000, right? I'm not calling for anything crazy, but it is crazy. It's exciting because we've been range bound for months now. We're getting ready to break out of this range. The last time that we had a low range that we broke out of, we went from a low of 74K all the way up to, I mean, technically a high of 126K, but really initially 123K. We're at higher levels now in our lows. This was the weakest rally of the whole bull market. If we see a rally that's this weak or stronger, we're probably going to see new all-time highs. But again, I don't think we'll see new all-time highs until February. I think February is going to be the good month. January is going to be the month where we start things off, okay? I am a little bit surprised with the monthly time frame because we don't have a wick to the downside at all. You know when the last time we had a candle, a green candle that had no wick to the downside was? I mean, kind of right here. It's not that it doesn't happen. It does happen, but really like to that effect, it was back here in 2023 in December. And the time before that was the end of the bear market here, right? Or the beginning of the bull market, maybe I should say. Because the end of the bear market was probably here. 2 months later was the beginning of the bull market. Anyways, or maybe the end of the bear market was here. This is a little sideways. I don't know. Semantics, whatever. All I'm trying to say is this isn't going the way that I intended it or I expected it to go in the beginning of January. I did think that we'd come down and wick a little bit. But whatever. It doesn't have to happen. You know, again, it's more of a superstition. Anytime I talk about these wicks, if you guys know what I'm talking about, these false direction wicks, whenever you open up the month, if you're expecting a month to close green, you want to see it open up red so that you leave behind a wick, because most of these green months, I mean, they have wicks left behind. It's more of a superstition. It's not a requirement. And the reality is, whenever you look at this on a daily time frame, we've been here for a while. You've held higher lows this whole time, and you've just moved higher. You know, I mean, let's look at this here. I'm actually kind of curious. Over the past 30 days, what do we got for liquidations? There's more longs than shorts, but I don't know if I believe that. Because again, this data, I need to get the premium because I'm pretty sure the premium allows you to access more. You know, this data only goes up as high as 103K. I know that there's like tens of billions, if not certainly over $10 billion in shorts at these 110 to 120K levels. As far as liquidations go, their liquidation levels are at about 110 to 120K. I know that there are more shorts than what it says here. But if you look at this on the 30-day time frame, it seems as though the longs outweigh the shorts. And relative to this range, they do. A lot of these longs, about $10 billion of them, gets liquidated if we go back down to $83,000. So that's something to keep in mind. Can we drop to 83K from here? We are at the top of this range after all. We are still in this range. It has only taken us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days to move up here. From some of the lower areas of this range, it's taken us 5 days to move up. Could we, over the next 10 days, move down to 83K, wipe out all of these longs, and then we rally? Then it takes 5 days to move back up, or 10 days to move back up, whatever it is. It's possible. It's definitely possible. It's not what I'm calling for, but again, in the context of this no wick on the monthly and stuff like that, you know, low volume here moving up, we haven't technically broken out. It's possible. It's certainly something that's possible, and there are a ton of longs ready to be cleared out down there. Now, something else to consider is, are these spoofed longs? Are these just longs that are provided by the exchange? They're not actually in jeopardy of getting liquidated, or technically they are, but they're not because they're with the exchange. They're kind of safe. I don't know. Are these the market makers? Is this spoofed? Is this to generate the thought that, oh, we're going to come back down and make retail short here? That's kind of the thought. Maybe. I don't know. Let's look at the short-term stuff. We'll look at the 1 hour time frame, and then we'll zoom out from there. Okay, the 1 hour time frame here, you are pushing higher. And to my surprise yesterday, the fact that we pushed up here and we had no volume, I really would have thought that we came down. we had more longs than shorts yesterday, I would have thought that we came down, and we didn't. We kept pushing higher, and we got more volume. So this, to me, this type of behavior, it just reminds me of like what we saw back here, where a lot of people were assuming that we would see a pullback here. We moved sideways, but then we moved up. We'd pull back here. This is on a daily time frame, whereas here, this would be more on a 1 hour time frame, but it still just reminds me of the same kind of behavior where we're moving up. All right, time for a retracement, but you don't really get it. You just move sideways instead, and then you move up more. All right, time for a retracement, but you don't really get it. You just move sideways, and then you move up more. All right, now it's time for a retracement, but you just move sideways, and you're probably going to continue to push higher. Probably. That's my guess. Probably. We'll see. There is a gap. We do BTC futures. There is a gap, a futures gap that's been left behind here at about $90,000. Actually, and there's another gap too. Everyone's going to be talking about this gap, but probably most people aren't aware of this gap because it doesn't look like a gap, right? It is a gap. I mean, it looks like a gap to me, but to the untrained eye, some people might not be aware that this right here at $84,000 is a gap, technically, right? You closed here, the next day opened here. You have a wick that fills partially, but it didn't fill all the way. That's a gap. There's a gap down there at 84.8K. There's also a gap right here, and there's also a gap right here. So if we went down to $83,000 and wiped out all of these longs, or just below 84K and wiped out all these longs, we'd effectively fill this gap down here. We'd go back to the base of this range down here, find support, and then we'd move up higher. We'd take out all these lows, make people panic, max panic sell at the lows. We'd probably have a double bottom, clear out all the longs, and then we'd rally. You know, that really could happen. And again, just in the context of Bitcoin, whenever we had our little sideways range here, it was only after we broke through the lows that we started to rally. We had our sideways range here. It was only after we saw a higher high that we rallied to the downside. We had it here. It was only once we saw lower lows. We were moving sideways. We held these lows for so long, and then once the light finally is coming out, we're looking like we're gonna do good. We're here. We're gonna do really good. Then once we dumped, that's whenever we pumped. Could it happen here too? It's possible. And I want to say it very clearly. I'm not calling for this to happen. But if it happens, I will be just as bullish here. I might even be more bullish here than I am right here. I will certainly not be panic selling. I'm speaking for myself. I'm assuming most of the space would be losing their shenanigans if we went below these lows at all. But we would be very bullish down here. But we'll see. It depends. It depends on how everything goes. There's certainly things that would make me bearish if we broke these lows, but moving below these lows in itself is not in itself bearish. It depends on the indicators, depends on the level of volume, depends on a couple of other things as well. But generally, I'm not afraid of this kind of price action. I would assume it would be a double bottom and then we'd move up. But at the moment, again, I'm not calling for that to happen. I'm just putting you on notice of that because we have seen this happen before. We've seen this happen several times this cycle alone, let alone in Bitcoin's life. So it shouldn't be terribly surprising. But that's what Bitcoin does. It likes to throw people off. You know, Bitcoin's not made for everybody to make money. Bitcoin's made for the select few to make money. And the way that happens is it throws the majority off. And if we are about to pump, wouldn't it make the most sense then to dump a little bit and then pump? I mean, maybe it does. Then again, most people were bearish here. I think people are in denial, and I think the majority of crypto participants are actually sidelined right now, personally. We'll see. We'll see. Looking at the 1 hour time frame here, looking at these indicators, we do have some bearish divergence on the 1 hour RSI. We've already seen that move play out, though. Now we actually have hidden bullish divergence. Again, I think we're just going to continue pushing higher, man. Stochastics are reset a little bit. The MACD's reset a little bit. Let's just see. Let's look at the 4 hour time frame. Anything more severe here? Nothing. Nothing at all. Not even bearish divergence on your MACD or your stochastics. You have it on your RSI, but you already saw the move happen. You're doing it right now, so you don't need to move lower. I would not be surprised if you moved higher. You look really good. Let's look at the fibs to kind of put a official stamp on this. Let's see. Low to high, golden ratio bounce. Back above the 236, you guys. This, by the way that I do fibs, what we did yesterday, the way that we closed above the 236 here, above 91.1K, that validates these lows as lows, and it also validates the idea that we're going to take out this high. Just this alone, for me, I could have looked at nothing else. This alone tells me we're moving higher, above this high. And if we're moving above this high, we take the relative high to the relative low. The expectation should be 97.6 to 101.5K. And that golden ratio, if you notice, that golden ratio zone right there happens to be right here in line with these prior areas of closing support right here. The 1272 and the 1414 are pretty close to these wicking lows. So something around 100K. Probably just above 100K is what's going to happen. And probably we do this. I mean, I don't think it's just going to be one fell swoop up there, but maybe it is. Maybe by the end of this week, we're up there. Maybe by the end of this week, it's a brand new week, so in the next 7 days, we're up in this area. I don't see us pulling back from here right now. It could happen. Again, we talked about it as a possibility, but with the indicators on the 1 hour and the 4 hour, I don't see it happening here. On the daily time frame, the indicators, you are right at the overbought zone. If we closed here today, there's a chance that we could reject and come down. Okay, that'd be enough of a premise for us to pull back a little bit. But again, with this fib, by the way, at this fib, I don't expect that we'd go below this low at this point. So, if we were to pull back from here, I would expect 91K or $90,000 somewhere around that area to find support for us. We'd find support and then we continue to move higher. In other words, if we pull back from here, the worst that we have is about $2,700 pullback. That would be my assumption. What we're doing to the upside is 97.6K, probably not. 101.6K, probably somewhere around there. Probably around that golden ratio, if I had to guess. Could that happen in the next week? Sure. It could happen not this week, but the following week. It doesn't have to happen like that. But again, over the last 5 days, I mean, if we have a continuation of what it was over the past 5 days, we should be there, I mean, very, very soon. And pushing higher. I do believe that we're going to move up to this target level. But we'll see. Daily stochastics are bullish. The MACD is about to cross above the zero. I mean, guys, it could be today. I shouldn't say it could be today. It could be today, though, and tomorrow. Like the coming days could be very exciting. I mean, we're in some very bullish prospects for Bitcoin, but we're also at a kind of significant area of resistance for some of these indicators. If Bitcoin were to reject the overbought zone here, if we were to reject the zero line here, that would put a stop in this progress right now. But we'd probably resume next week or the following week, right? One way or another, whether it's in the very, very near term, as in like over the next couple of days we break out, today even that we break out, or if it's over the next couple of weeks, we should be breaking out of the zone very, very soon. We're ready. We are ready. And it's important to remember, even though everything that I just said is true, we are 100% ready to break out of the zone. We are at areas of resistance. We can find turbulence. The 1 hour and the 4 hour and the daily all look good, and they promote the idea that we would continue to grow, and even still we can pull back. I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. Sometimes things look the most bullish when they are the most bullish, and then they dump off afterwards. When things look the most bearish and depressing, that's when the low is in. You know, that's sometimes and oftentimes enough, that's how it happens. So just because we look good here on our indicators doesn't mean we have to continue to be good. But if things go the way that I see them going, we should be pushing up higher probably over the coming days. I wouldn't be surprised if this week we did break out of this range. So I've got nothing else. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one, okay? Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.